Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our very first session of the Living Tabernacles series. We are very excited for this series and we are kicking it off on a high with Marilu, who will be talking to us a little bit more about your gut and your garden. Good morning, Marilu, and welcome.
Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. So early to start talking about the gut, but it's good because there's so much about the gut that we can talk about. So I am going to jump right in. I want to just start off with a prayer so that we know that we are guided in this session. And let's just open up and pray. Abba Father, thank you so much for this beautiful day, this day that you have made. Lord, thank you. We come into your courtroom with thanksgiving and praise. Lord, you are our heart's desire, and you are the King above all kings. And we just give you all the glory, Lord. I give you the glory for this morning, Lord. Thank you that we've been designed in such a beautiful way, Lord, and that we can discover how much detail you have added to us to live in this life and how you've created this world to be so supportive of even our physical bodies, Lord. I thank you for this great and perfect design. And I want to just ask Holy Spirit, come with us on this journey of this talk. Allow ears to be opened and hearts to be ready to receive. And Lord, may your words be spoken here and your message come across here. And I pray that in the beautiful and powerful name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay. So we're going to get started straight away. Health is a topic that you can wake me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'll be able to tell you a lot about it. So I'm very excited, and thank you, Lucia, again for this opportunity to share this with you. The theme for today is your gut, your garden, and where this really came into play was the one day I was paging through my daughter's education book, and I don't know how our education system thinks that chocolates is part of fats, but they had labeled chocolates part of fats in her book, and I exploded. I immediately contacted the teacher and I was like, I need to come and do a lesson on the health for you because our children are being taught completely the wrong things. And when she asked me, okay, Marilu, I don't have a lot of time, but what do you suggest? Can I say you wouldn't be able to come into the class, but I can do it. What do you suggest? I just got this picture of having a garden, and Kits works with pictures. So this whole idea of having a garden in your gut was born, and it is actually so beautifully aligned and symbiotic to everything around us, our environment. Our environment works the same way. And God designs things that way. Whenever you want to know if anything is God designed, he repeats himself. So I'll give you an example of how beautifully we create it. As us women, we have our monthly cycle around every 28 days. Similarly, there's a full moon every 28 days. If you look at the way that the tree structure is created, that tree structure works in the same way in our minds, the way our thought patterns look like, as well as our lungs. And how amazing how lungs and trees are connected because they create the oxygen that we breathe. So God is so... he connects everything. Things that are man-made are not repeated. Things like, for instance, time and the way that the clock works is not repeated. It's a one singular isolated structure. And I can name many of those things up, but let's get into this. So I want to just first off start off with just quickly tell you who I am and why I get to talk to you today. Myself and my business partner, Dan Swanepoel, we are Minister of Wellness. Collectively, we have over 30 years of experience in the wellness industry in different realms. We both had our own health journey. Dan's journey was that he had incurable autoimmune disease. And long story short, he decided to not go the pharma way, but started to learn and go and study and completely healed himself. He basically ate himself to to complete health, this incurable disease that he had. And he had actually a couple. He had from Hashimoto, he had thyroid problems, he had arthritis, like there was so much wrong with him. And he ate himself to healing. Within a year, a space of a year, 13 months, he was completely healed. So my journey was a journey that in 2019, I went through depression. And looking back, I understand that that was an attack, both like in the entire triune being. In the spirit, that was a definite spiritual attack. In the soul, there was a lot of emotional toxicity in my marriage. And it all was combined. My gut health was completely out. I had adrenal fatigue, and I'm going to tell you more about that, how the gut works. But because of that, I couldn't release serotonin, and I couldn't absorb serotonin, and that in itself also supported the depression coming on. So our bodies are so beautifully designed, but even in our work, we have ample experience. So when I sit here with you today, I'm talking about a good 15 plus years for myself, and obviously with Dan's experience and his insight to this as well. We come with a heart where we want to serve people, and we want to make sure that the truth gets out there. There wasn't like in the COVID times, I saw so many people being fearful. Now, the thing is, if we're fearful, it's most possibly because we don't understand. Because if you understand, you won't fear. It's truly, if you understand how beautifully and powerfully God has created our bodies, and that it's a redemptive body, because Christ is also, he paid the price for sin, so we don't have to walk through that road anymore. And so it's just so powerfully packaged. And if you understand that, you will not fear, especially a man-made virus. That wasn't supposed to be feared. God makes way more powerful viruses. And if you think that God doesn't make viruses, he makes microbes. He made it and he designed it, and microbes is our friend. And again, like, I just want to mention, like, people will go, what are you talking about, Marilu? It's the same thing. Like, our fight isn't against flesh and blood. So it's not against the actual physical virus. It's the spirit behind it. And so the Bible is very direct in Ephesians about that. And so when the sun is out and it's nice and warm, the sun is our friend. But when we go through a drought and a long period of drought that shouldn't be, it's not the sun's fault, it's the spirit behind it. And so we always have to address things in the spirit. All right, so your gut. So a lot of people will ask me, where is the gut? What is the gut? Because we think our gut is maybe just our tummy. And a lot of times we talk about our tummy, but it's not really our tummy. It's everything from our oral cavity all the way through the esophagus, and I can never say that word properly. I've been in this industry for so long, but that's a difficult word, especially for this Afrikaans lady. The liver, the gallbladder, the stomach, the pancreas, everything up to your anus. And anus is not a swear word. I know people are struggling to sometimes say the word, but it's not a swear word. It's a very important part of the body. And all of this, what is actually quite fascinating is this is this entire structure that is, I wouldn't say isolated from the body, but it's a structure where food comes in, it moves through the structure and it moves out. In the structure, our bodies absorb things that is beneficial to our body. Well, in most cases, beneficial to our body. But this is a closed system, completely closed system. Again, in this process, food are being broken down. And that's what's so beautiful about this, is that it's designed to, whatever goes into the mouth, your digestive system already starts in the mouth. So you've got saliva in your mouth that starts breaking things down. When I talk about lemon juice, your mouth will start to saliva. So it already starts here. And it works all the way through, all the way in your stomach. Your stomach acid, so a lot of people struggle with heartburn as an example, and they think that it's too much acid. There isn't such a thing as too much acid in your stomach. You cannot have enough acid in your stomach. The reason why people are having heartburn is because there's too little acid, or the acid isn't as acidic. And what then happens is that you've got a bacterial overgrowth, and that pushes up the stomach lining, and you have this burning sensation. But it's got nothing to do with the acid. In fact, the acid level in your stomach is close to 2, even, well, 3, at least an acid level of 3, sometimes even 2. So, I mean, it will, if you look at the stomach acid and what it will dissolve, you'll be amazed at how we are still alive. And it's how beautiful how we are designed, but it really, it can deteriorate anything in the stomach. And then, you know, every single organ in this digestive system is so, so, so important. We recently did a talk and then had people feedback on what their health situations are. And a lot of people gave us, gave us feedback on that they got their gallbladders removed. Now, I want to say that God designed you with every single thing in your body to be there. So even your appendix, mine is removed. My mother decided it was a good idea at 12 to remove it. It got infected all the time. But the reason why it got infected was that there were things in my body that wasn't aligning. And instead of addressing the root problem, we just removed the appendix. The same with tonsils. So tonsils and appendix are very, very important. This is your first line of defense. So whatever comes into the body, this is your entire gut system is what will then look at what is happening there. So in your gut, you have 2 kinds of bacteria. You've got beneficial and detrimental microbia. So microbia is bacteria, so by the way. And we as a human being, if you look at the amount of microbial cells that we have in our body, we actually more microbes than what we are human. And so you can imagine, and this is for anyone that is a clean freak, this will freak you out to know that you have so much bacteria in you. But this is the way that we are designed. In Tanzania, they found a colony that's got over 1,600 different species of gut microbia. And what that meant was these people are incredible. Like there is no, so HIV is an autoimmune disease. They don't even, they haven't found any of people in that tribe that has even HIV in Africa. And so it's incredible to show that when we have the right microbes in our body, that it supports us. In the Western world, we struggle to get to 160. We have way less than that. And so if you don't have the microbial life in your body that actually does function and do its job, your body can't operate. And that's then where, on top of other reasons, but why you get things like inflammation and why you get intolerances, food intolerances. There's other reasons for that too, because the makeup of the food is not what it is anymore. And so our bodies don't recognize it, but we don't have the right microbes to actually deal with these things anymore. So what we also find is as soon as we start dealing with clients and we add things like fiber to their diet, they have a massive reaction to that because they don't have the microbial life in their system to actually work with it. And we slowly have to build onto the microbial life. Now you have both. You've got the beneficial microbia and you've got the detrimental, and you want both. So I'm going to explain this to you a little bit as well, but you want both. You just want the balance of both. And it's an 80-20 rule to this. Now in nature, we see this repeated again. If any of you have done any sort of planting, especially if you're planting edibles, you'll know that you have certain foods that thrive on nitrogen. So they need nitrogen in the soil. Soil quality is obviously then very, very important, but you need nitrogen in the soil in order for these plants to flourish. And then you have plants like beans, and it's most of your crawling, I want to say, beans and peas and things, they replace the nitrogens in the ground again. So there's this beautiful ecosystem of nitrogen going into the soil and nitrogen being subtracted from the soil. And the same thing in your gut. What the detrimental bacteria does is it actually controls the methane gas in your body. So if you don't have them, you'll become quite bloated. So you want to have quite a nice balance between the good bacteria and the, I want to say good and bad, but they're not good and bad. They're both beneficial to a degree, but they work in an ecosystem together so everything stays in balance. You know, God is about balance and order and keeping a structure. It's not always a straight line. In fact, there's no straight lines in nature. I've never come across any straight line in nature, so I have to question straight lines sometimes as well in life. Like, God didn't create straight lines in nature, so we sometimes have to understand that our life will go a little bit left, a little bit right. It's just beautiful. If you look at nature, the way that it just parades itself, it's beautiful, the design. So I want to walk you through with this journey of teaching the kids and teaching this teacher about the garden inside, and putting this picture together, how important it is for us to understand how this garden works. And it truly is a garden. In order to, and I call it the Garden of Eden. There's no scripture that supports it, but it just sounds nice, and it makes me value my gut health. So if I tell you Garden of Eden is, if I tell you you've got a garden in your stomach, you're going to go, oh, okay. But if I tell you the Garden of Eden is in your stomach, you're going to be a little bit more cautious of how you treat this garden. So for that reason specifically, we're calling it the Garden of Eden. All right, so first of all, what you want to make sure is that you have great soil quality. The soil quality in your entire system is your gut lining. So that's everything, again, like from the mouth to the anus. Everything about the lining needs to be sufficient. So there's a little picture of what the gut lining looks like. They work together. They're like very tightly closed. But sometimes what happens is when this gut lining gets disrupted, you have enzymes and actually proteins going into your blood system. It leaks. This is what we call leaky gut. When I heard the word leaky gut, I thought it was someone that can't keep their pants clean. I don't know why, but that's what the picture gives me. But it's not that. It is that there's lining in your entire gut. There's a disruption in there and it's been damaged, and you have proteins leaking into your blood system. When you have proteins leaking into your blood system, your body starts to attack yourself. This is where you get autoimmune diseases. This is where you get all sorts of things that are happening that are really detrimental to people. So by healing your gut, first of all, that's the first thing. So if you ever struggle with any gut issues, the first thing you want to do is look at how you can just heal the gut lining. Because once that's healed, it will allow also for proper absorption into the bloodstream properly, the way it should, and not leaking, like through like if it's opened and it leaks chemicals and toxins into your body. So soil quality is absolutely important. The next thing is, and I did this quite consciously, the next thing in your stomach is you want to control the weeds. So I've put a little picture of a dandelion on the one side of the plants, because in most agricultural settings, you'll find that that's what is being sprayed. So when they put sprays out on the land, it's to completely diminish the dandelions. Now, dandelions, if you didn't know, is amazing for one's health, just so by the way. So I'm giving you a little tip here. If you ever find dandelion tea or herbs, use it. If you find dandelions in your garden, save them. They are amazing medicinal little creatures, and I won't say creatures, flora, so to speak. And the same thing with our detrimental bacteria. They are very important, but we do have to manage them. So they can't take over the crop. And they do. They have the tendency, dandelions, if you leave them, they will go all over. So you want to make sure that you control them. And the same with the detrimental bacteria. So we're controlling weeds. We're not completely extinguishing weeds. We need to make sure that we control that balance. Step 3 is you want to then make sure that you sow and nurture good seeds. So if you have overgrowth of weeds, for instance, and you just go and throw seeds out there, they're not going to grow. And the Bible is actually, it talks about that as well. you know, it talks about the weeds that comes up with the weeds, the wheat that comes up with the weed, and how sometimes you just harvest it together and what that means for us. So it is important that when you control the weeds, like the dandelions and the detrimental microbes, that you introduce and nurture your good bacteria. So there's many ways in how you can do this. There are things like prebiotics and probiotics that you can take. And yes, you do get a pre and a pro because the two work together. So if you're just taking probiotics, it stays for a little while, but then it gets flushed out again because there's no prebiotic that actually keeps it going. And so it's very important that when you sow the seeds and you make sure you get good bacteria, that you keep on nurturing these good bacteria in your body. Things like cultured foods or fermented foods, more better known. There is a difference between fermented and cultured. I like to use the word cultured. That means that you have cultivated a bacteria. So things like sourdough, for instance, it's a little culture that you have, and you manage that culture, that when you bake your bread, that bacteria has nicely grown. The same with your cultured foods, things like sauerkraut or kimchi, kombucha. All of those things are very good bacteria that you can have. Prebiotics, example of prebiotics is green bananas. So if you can't find supplements, and there's loads of supplements out there, if you need advice on supplements, do call me, because I want to just quickly mention that the health industry is also built on the Babylonian system. So people are out there to make money. So there are lots of health supplements out there that aren't working. Unfortunately, I'm going to leave it at that. So you want to make sure that you introduce good bacteria to your body and then nurture them as you go. The next thing that is super important to keep your plants happy is to water them, of course. And so hydration is super important for the structure. You want to make sure that you drink a lot of water. And this is something I don't have to preach to Lucia. Whenever I see her, she's got a water bottle with her. It's actually, I have to preach to myself here. I'm so bad with drinking water. But you have to try and at least get in the right amount of hydration. And it's around about 2 liters. It differs from person to person. There's a bit of a calculation that you can do for your body weight. And so depending actually on your body weight is the amount of water that you need to drink, but it is an average of 2 liters. So if you're a tiny person, you might be 1.8. If you're quite active, it needs to be more, so maybe even 2.5 liters of water that you need to drink. And very importantly, the quality of water is so important. So, you know, this world, unfortunately, the enemy has been very active in the physical realm to set up structures and systems and industries that slowly infiltrate and toxify us. And our water quality, unfortunately, is one of those things. 10, 20 years ago, it was known that South Africa was one of the countries that had the best water. I can tell you it's not the case anymore. I worked for a water company, and I saw what was coming out of like our taps, and you will be horrified if you know what actually is in our water. It's very gory, so I'm not even going to share that with you. But you want to make sure that you have a proper filtering system. And a filtering system, if you're looking at a filtering system, you need to make sure that your water filter system has the ability to also take out hormones, because that's a major thing. Our filtering systems, even globally, on an industrial level, they don't filter out the hormones. So even through our water, we get in a lot of estrogen. So sometimes, well, I laugh because, you know, us women are slowly taking over this world. We're changing our men and becoming softer by giving them estrogen through the water. And I'm not even joking. There was a study done in America where there were these 4 towns that were supported by this big like reservoir dam. And they started to do studies because they saw that the fish in the water, there were more and more females and less males, and they couldn't understand why that was until they tested the water and realized that there's an increased level of estrogen in this water, and it was through the pill or, at least birth control, because what we do is when we take it, we urine out quite a lot of estrogen, and that goes back into the water, and it does not get filtered. And those towns were known for men removing boobs. Like they actually started to grow like these men boobs, as they call it. Now, the US is also, they do struggle a bit with their weight, so that added to it. But that's a massive reason why. And so you want to make sure that your water is filtered, and at least to a degree where they make use of reversed osmosis. So if you want to write that down, reverse osmosis, you want to have a filter that has that included, because reverse osmosis definitely removes the hormones in the water. Then what is very, very important, I don't know where my sun is. I had a sun here. I don't know where it went. Maybe it's because it's still dark. Okay, on the one side, there was a sun. So imagine there's a sun in my presentation there. And it is, we need sun energy to make our plants happy, for that whole structure to flourish. So you need that, the sun on your plants, so that they can be beautifully green and be flourished in the environment. And we need the same. So sun is light energy, heat energy. It is energy that it is actually being given to the plants, and we need the same. So the way that we actually increase the energy in our bodies is through exercise. You can go and lie in the sun. You will get a little bit of energy through that, but not enough, not the type of energy that we need. And so daily exercise is important. Guys, I can't stress, or girls, ladies, I can't stress this enough. 3 times exercise a week is not enough. You have to move every single day. God created us. Let me quickly tell you how beautifully we are created. If you take our kneecaps as an example, in comparison to the size of a cheetah and a horse, our kneecaps are way stronger and way more able to run. So we were designed to run. There is no such thing of no, I'm not really designed to run. No. You were designed to run. We were designed to travel and to walk, and Jesus walked miles and miles and miles. So it is so important that we exercise every single day, and you need that because that's the energy. So imagine when you wake up in the morning and you haven't exercised, it's like not giving your plants any sun for the day. So I want you to think about that. And what exercise does is it really stimulates this whole structure of serotonin that's being released, dopamine that's being released in your structure, and that stimulates your stomach as well, or not your stomach, your gut. I make the mistake that most people do. We talk about our stomach and our tummy. We relate to it, but it's our entire gut. So entire gut is then not just our gut is energized, but you need the energy because it releases certain hormones. It allows for certain systems. It allows for better digestion. If you are stressed and you eat a meal, I would rather you not eat than eating a meal when you are stressed. And I know that when we get stressed or when we get emotional, we eat, and it's a very, very bad thing to do. Just the way that what happens after that is very negative for your body. So if you, something that I teach, and this will be part of the next slide, but something that we teach our clients is before you sit down for a meal, breathe. Actually do some breathing exercises just to calm the nervous system so that when you eat, you're actually completely relaxed. Because again, like what happens is if you stress, there's a lot of cortisol in your body. What happens in your body is a lot of blood is then directed more to fight or flight systems. So it'd be like your muscular system, because you need to fight or flight. So there's a lot of blood that then runs through that's directed to your muscles rather to the digestive system. So you want to completely relax. When you're completely relaxed, your the blood then actually is more focused then on digestion, on other things. And so you can understand where I'm going with this. It's very, very important that you relax. But exercise is one of those things that will actually help you with that entire structure. So very important that we exercise every single day. And it could be as little as 30 minutes a day. 20 to 30 minutes every single day is way better than like an hour 3 times a week. I'd rather you do a little bit of exercise every single day than just exercising 3 times a week. If you put the plants in the sun 3 times a week and the rest of the time they're indoors when they should be outdoors, you're not going to have a nice harvest, that I can tell you. You want to make sure that the sun gets on them. Then what you need to do is also in times do environmental protection. So this is then if you know that your area has a lot of hail or storms, you're going to make sure that your plants are covered. And this is where we get to stress management. Stress is most probably one of the biggest reasons why our gut is is tormented. Every single time we work with clients and we do a stress analysis with them, we can see how much stress is actually influencing it. And a lot of the stress that we're experiencing today is in the mind. So it's things about that we worry about or stress about or fear about. And fear is truly a killer. The way that if some of you, I don't know who of you are also on the biblical study course with MK Stradom that we're doing, but in that, we have learned how fear truly causes disease. And so you need to manage that. And in fact, you want to get rid of fear, obviously, completely, but you need to do mind management. You need to make sure that you take time out. If you just, and I'm talking to myself here, if you just going, at some point you're going to crash. So you need to actually take some time out. You know, this is why God created the Sabbath, so that we can take time out to relax, chillax, as my children tells me. You want to have time where you can just relax, not think of too many things that you still have to do, all that to-do list before, like yesterday, and you want to completely relax. And you need to keep that stress at bay. Because it not only affects our minds, but it is really detrimental to our bodies. It ages you. Stress ages you, and age is not supposed to be. Let me put it to you this way. I personally don't believe in aging. I'm sure I do look older than when I was 16, but I personally don't believe in aging simply because, and that's a whole discussion and maybe a meeting on itself. But I've come to realize that in John 3 verse 16, it says, "This is my beloved son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life." As soon as we step into that place of knowing Christ, we already step into a place of everlasting life. And not just that, in Romans, it explains very nicely how we have died with Christ and were resurrected with Christ. It means that we are on the other side of death and resurrection, and sin that causes death, well, sin that causes aging as well, because if you look at the John 3 verse 16, it says, "This is my beloved son, and whoever believes in him shall not perish." Perish is like a decaying, and aging is nothing more than a decaying. We're not part of that structure and system anymore. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that avenue because that is an entire lesson all by itself, but I don't believe in aging. However, if we do not manage our mind and we take rest, don't step into striving, but take rest with God, we will age. It's unfortunate. So this is, and you'll see it in the world. The world pushes us to go faster around this, like, hamster wheel going nowhere. So it's really important that we take rest. It's also at this place of rest that we are productive. God didn't call us to be busy. He called us to be productive, to be effective in this world. Salt is effective. It changes, it actually brings out the flavor in food. And this is what we need to do, is we just need to be effective. And so if you were effective with one person that day, you were productive. You don't need all of your tick boxes. In fact, we create a lot of our tick boxes ourselves. And then that wasn't something that God has actually told us to do. Again, I'm preaching to myself here. Then step 7 is rest. So there's a difference between stress management and that sort of resting and taking rest, like in your mind, and then sleeping at night. Sleep is absolutely important for us. We do need to sleep. Plants also sleep. If you had to put a light on a plant 24/7, it would die. God created the day and the night because plants and animals also have to rest. So it's not just us. It's not just your cell phone that needs to be recharged. We need to recharge as well. And there's so many beautiful things that happen in an 8-hour sleeping cycle. And I do recommend women need a little bit more rest. God created us that way. I think it's, I always just think that because our minds are made to overthink, we go sometimes and we burn ourselves out just mentally. And so we need a little more sleep than men to recover. I'm joking. I mean, that's not a scientific fact. I'm just saying that from my side. But yes, we do need rest. There's certain hormones that are being released. In fact, in your 7th to 9th hour of rest, you're actually producing hormones that help you lose weight. Yes, if you want to know how to lose weight, is sleep properly. I promise you, it's an underrated step, this sleep. And plants, equally to nature, also needs to rest. And that's why God created day and night. So, yeah, that's how do we get a balanced, beneficial microbiota? Is to do exactly that, is to eat wholesome foods. We didn't touch on foods at all today, but wholesome foods mean that it needs to be from God's design. If man got involved, and a lot of time, and I say man, the world that doesn't know God, all of our food, most of our food has been contaminated, and not just contaminated by the actual by chemicals, but actually also by its DNA construct. So if you look at grains as an example, grains would be things like your flour, your beans, your lentils, your oats, anything from that kind of like whole structure of our food structure. Most of them have been genetically modified. And what that means is what they've done is, like, for instance, with wheat that we make our breads from, and it's fascinating because God comes and he says, I am the bread. And then we go, ooh, I'm wheat intolerant, Lord, I can't eat bread. There's something psychological that the world has introduced there to us, because the original ancient wheats we can eat. But today's wheat, and it has been tampered with already in the 1960s, 1970s, what they did was change the DNA construct of the wheat kernel to, instead of just having 14 amino acids, the construct of it now has something like 40 to 80. So the entire look and feel of that wheat kernel is completely different to what our bodies can absorb. And so hence why we're struggling with things like wheat intolerances and so forth. And most of our food have been genetically modified. It's very hard to find corn, as an example, that's not. Most of our food have also been sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, and that in itself is a massive gut disruptor. It is cancer causing. It's just so much toxicity in there. Not only are we affected, but animals are infected, because these foods are also then being fed to our cows, to our chickens, to even fish food. And so you'll find that if you talk to conventional cattle farmers, the main problem is always that the cattle has massive stomach problems. And then we eat that meat. And then what happens in the meat, just so you know, the structure of, for those of you that eat meat, the structure of the protein also, or the fat, actually changes. So in nature, the way God has designed it, there's a beautiful balance in your omegas, omega 3, 6, and 9. And there's a beautiful balance between it, where in some cases it's like a ratio of 1 to 2, omega 3 and 6, where when there's a lot of inflammation in the bodies, and especially in cattle as an example, it can shoot up to something like 16. So 1 to 16. And then we get a massive amount of omega-6 in our bodies, along with things like all of your canola oil, sunflower oils, those oils and margarines and things. You must just stay away from that because it's a massive gut disruptor. And then because of that extreme ratio, we get massive inflammation in our bodies as well. So we have to look at that. Eggs, I love the fact that people are advertising free-range eggs, meaning that the chickens were walking freely around. That's not what you need to be asking. You need to be asking, is this pasture-fed eggs? So the questions that you need to ask around food with your meats, it is with your red meats, especially you need to ask whether it was grass-fed and grass-finished. Quickly on that, what happens is a lot of the conventional guys would go and buy the grass-fed cattle, and then in those last couple of months they will inject the hormones, they will do all of that, and they will get grain fed so that they bulk up and they get sold for more, but then they can sell them as grass fed. So you want to make sure if you get meat that it's grass fed and grass finished. With your chickens, you want to make sure that they are pasture fed, and if they are grain fed, that it is non-GMO foods. So that's the question that you need to ask. With your vegetables, it's always if it's organic. If anything's grown organic, you are good to go, mostly, because it means that they didn't use any pesticides and herbicides, sprays. But the industry is also pressured. You know, even in South Africa, the banks won't give the farmers any financial support, or they won't give them loans for their farming unless they use the sprays and use the genetically modified seeds. And this is how far we've already come, unfortunately. So all of these industries are really structured in a very wicked way to support destruct, unfortunately, in our system. So you have to be wise. And yes, you do have the power to step outside of that. So it's not doom and gloom. But when you have the power, or when you have the knowledge, just having the knowledge isn't power. To apply the knowledge is where the power lies. And so if you, for instance, can't find any organic foods, there is a way that you can clean it, especially if you're eating the outside of your fruits and vegetables, like your apples, your berries, your cucumbers. What you want to do is just take a bowl of filtered water, add a teaspoon or a tablespoon of bicarb soda, dissolve it, and then let your fruit and vegetables just soak for about 20 minutes. And you can rinse them, and then you can eat them. And in fact, you'll be quite disgusted how dark and how brown the water is from what comes out of the food. So there are ways to do that. And then obviously, if you plant your own stuff, that would be most beneficial to you. So we live, unfortunately, in an extremely tormented world. Everything around us is set up to destruct our bodies. It's an agenda. It's definitely an agenda that's there to destruct it, and it's been coming for some time. It's been planned out for decades. And so we've slowly been introduced to these things to the point where we don't even realize the change. But it definitely affects our well-being, and it affects our connection actually to God. Because if you have a hormone imbalance and you have a foggy mind, and I know because I've been through it, you don't feel like you can connect to God. You know that God's close, but you don't feel close to him at all. And so there is a definite connection between that. But we can say no. We can step out of it for sure. And the choice is really ours. Deuteronomy 30 verse 19 says, I call heaven and earth as witnesses today against you. Just want to move this quickly. That I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life, that both you and your descendants may live. So things like what they call genetically diseases that are being passed on, even things like heart disease or high cholesterol or cancer. You know, my mom had it or my grandmother had it, and so this is why I'm going to get it. No, choose life. You can choose life and it will stop. You can choose, obviously, first God, And then you choose life. You make right choices. Because most of these diseases, I promise you, when you might have a predisposition, okay? Because if your family has struggled with gut issues, as an example, and that resulted in certain diseases, you might have a predisposition, but you would never be able to get it if you choose life. So choose God's design, the perfect design. He designed everything in order. He designed us to live in nature. I don't have a slide up on it, but it's actually shocking that the world has even removed us from nature. So much so that if you go, and you can check it out for yourself, 1980s, if you go into the Oxford Dictionary, we are included in the word nature. But if you go to the Oxford Dictionary today and you look up nature, it will actually say everything in nature except humans. It actually says that. It's shocking. So the world has slowly tried to condition us to that disconnect as well. But we get to choose, and that's beautiful. And we get to step into that life. You can say no, and you can get organic. It is something that we need to fight for sure. It's not always easy, but it's definitely worth it. And if you, sorry, if you choose life for yourself today, you choose life for your children tomorrow, and their children and their children. So I highly recommend that you do so. Thank you. That's me for the day, and that is your garden. I hope that you all have learned how to take care of your garden today.
Thanks so much, Marilu. Thanks for everything that you shared. Yes, I've learned so much today, and I think what is important is what you closed with is really to choose life every day. And it's not easy to always choose life, because sometimes you just feel like, just choosing that pizza and cuddling under your duvet and not exercising. I think to choose life daily is a challenge. But as you say, the more we choose life, the closer we get to God as well. So thank you so much for sharing today, Marilu. Let's just, I know we are a bit over time, so those who need to leave, you're more than welcome to. I just want to close out for us in prayer. Father, thank you for this amazing teaching that you have brought through your vessel, Marilu, to us today, Father. Thank you that we can learn more about our inner garden, our inner Eden, as Marilu calls it, Father. And thank you for teaching us how we should take care of our inner gardens as tabernacles of you, Father, because our biggest desire is for your Spirit to come and dwell inside of us. Father, when the tabernacle was finished, your Spirit filled the entire tabernacle. And therefore, our biggest desire is that you will fill our entire body, soul, and spirit, so that our physical bodies are healthy, and so that we can already step into that everlasting life, as Marilu mentioned, so that our minds will be consumed with your thoughts and not our own thoughts. And so that our spirits will be close to you, Father, so that we can receive deep spiritual revelation from your word and from your heart and from your character, Father. I pray that you will give us the strength to choose life daily, and that you will equip us with more and more knowledge of your word and more knowledge of your creation in its original form and its original design, so that we will have discernment to know when something has been modified or altered and when it is not good for us to take it in, Father. We have been given practical steps today on how we can live a balanced life, and we know that every step is a start towards this journey of living in fullness, Father. So we ask that you guide us and that you give us strength, that we will implement these steps daily, Father. Yes, we praise you and we love you, Father, and we ask that you will be with us in this week that is to come, that you will remind us of what we have learned today, and that it will that we will meditate on it and think about it daily, Father, as it grows into a lifestyle. May you also bless Marilu and bless the Ministry of Wellness and the work that they do every single day, Father, for your kingdom and for your glory, and really to feed people the truth, information that we need so that we can live in fullness. I bless each and every Eve that has listened to this video this morning and that will also listen to this video in future. We praise you and we love you, and we ask this in the name of Yeshua, our Messiah. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks so much, Marilu. I don't know if for the recording's purposes, if you quickly just want to mention about the course that you talked to me about yesterday.
Yes, thank you so much for doing that. I got the slides for it too. So we are opening up a course for those people that need. A lot of times we know what to do, but we need that extra guidance or that hand to help us, or even the accountability to keep us on track. And so we are launching a Reboot Your Gut. This is for everyone. This is for someone that is struggling with health diseases or illnesses, as chronic as can be, as even just someone that wants to make sure that their gut is optimal. It's a 3-month training program, and what we'll be offering is assessments to see where you're at, to help you with clean, beneficial food, to help you around fasting and detoxification, to teach you about how that works in the body, teach you about prebiotics and probiotics and fermented foods, supplements that work for your gut, taming inflammation, and then we do an environmental check to make sure, because you want to make sure that if there is toxins coming in, we need to stop that. So where is it coming in? So we want to do an environmental check. We do a medication check. If you are on any medication for any reason, we want to make sure that we can, sometimes when your gut is healthy, it even supports your medical. So we want to make sure that we help along that line. Your motility check is how quickly food can move through you. That's very, very important. And it's something that's very underrated. So we do a motility check. Physical training, obviously, we help you to get onto a program, to get moving every day. We do sleep assessment and help you to improve your sleep with strategies. We help with stress management, mindset work, EMF mitigation. We didn't talk about this much, but this is the 5G influences around us that we don't even see. Grounding. We help you to make healthy shopping choices in a restaurant as well as grocery list. And then we help you with nutrient-dense meals as well. So we do have limited space. I can share, I don't have the link up here, but I can share it with you afterwards. So you can just go and register. If you find out more about this group training, you can just go to the link, click on there. It has more information. But we also, for this week, we have a giveaway that we're going to do a lucky draw by the end of this week to give a free spot away in our course. So what you need to do is actually go and just register for more information. It doesn't tie you to it to pay any fees or anything. But if you go and put down your name to say, look, I am interested in finding out more about this or about gut health, then you will be entered into the spot. And for that, you just need to also be on our Ministry of Wellness WhatsApp group. So I'll share those 2 links with Lucia. It's the Ministry of Wellness WhatsApp group, and then the link to register yourself for this.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Marilu.
Thank you so much.
Have a blessed week.
Thank you. Bye. God bless. Bye.